Hey, Waxahachie. This is Heidi Hood, Marketing Manager at the Waxahachie Chamber of Commerce, here with Noelle from Discovery Point Retreat. Once again, today we have a very interesting topic to discuss with our special guest, and I'll let Noelle introduce him here in a minute. We are going to talk about depression, the nature of it, how we can help ourselves and help each other through it. And without giving too much away, I'm going to toss it over to Noelle.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Yes, I am so excited to be here, especially with Greg Powers. He is the clinical director for Discovery Point Retreat. And again, as Heidi mentioned, this is our mental health and recovery series. So the information that we want to provide to you is information that is going to help you through your lives. Especially now, I hate to use the phrase in these crazy times, but it's very appropriate. So Greg, let's jump right into this conversation about depression, which is pretty material to everything that we've all been going through. I know even myself have been experiencing just really down times, feelings of isolation. So in general, when we're talking about depression, let's just start from a baseline of really kind of identifying it, because it's so common for all of us to say, I have been really feeling depressed. So give us some kind of baseline from a clinical standpoint about depression.
So thanks, Noelle and Heidi, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk about this topic with everybody. Really what we're talking about here is prolonged sadness. It's something that's not just a day here and an hour here. It's really something that we're talking about that's continuous, something that's just doesn't seem to go away after maybe a week or two, and just incredible sadness. We're having periods of isolation, which is kind of hard right now, right? So we're all kind of social isolating, but it's even when, our friends are trying to call us on the phone and we don't want to talk, or even our kids are calling and saying, Mom, Dad, hey, we want to, talk to the grandkids, and they're going, yeah, not really in the mood to do that. So that's what we're really talking about. It's not just I'm having a bad day. It's I'm having a bad period in my life right now.
So what are some of the physical symptoms? I mean, obviously lethargy, but even in terms of like some of the things that we previously maybe were passionate about, I get this prolonged sadness, but can you be even more specific for people to really be able to self-identify, God, I used to love this thing, and I'm not even interested in it anymore, because I think it's easy to be depressed, truly depressed, and not recognize it because it just comes upon you so slowly. I'm speaking for a friend,
Well, and that's just it. A lot of people think they can recognize depression. It's that person who's sad. It's that person who doesn't want to talk. But sometimes what we also experience is sleep disturbance. Maybe we're sleeping too much, not enough. We're having insomnia, restlessness. We're waking up early in the morning. Those are symptoms of depression as well. Sometimes we have that excessive need to eat a whole lot or not eat at all. Those, again, are symptoms maybe of depression that we can take a look at and go, hey, maybe there's something else really significant going on.
Is there a typical time in individuals' lives when people in general are more susceptible to depression? For example, I have a house full of teenagers, and I see even some of the things that you're talking about. So are there times when we are vulnerable to depression in our lives?
It's not really an age thing. We're susceptible to depression throughout our entire life. Small children to the elderly are all susceptible to depression. Depression is a very common occurrence. And, one of the things that I look at when I'm treating individuals, or even just looking at what's going on in our community today. You know, what's interesting is that there are probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 16 million people in the U.S. right now that meet the clinical definition of depression.
Wow.
Of those 16 million, probably only half seek treatment because they just feel like, oh, it's just one of those things, I'll get over it. You know, you talk about you have teenagers in your house, and I do as well. And one of the things that I'm seeing with my kids, not only are they not able to go out and see their friends, and we all say, oh, well, you can get on Zoom and you can do the internet and talk to your friends by text and all that stuff, but they're missing that actual contact with their friends. And so what it comes out a lot of times is, sure, maybe they're sleeping a lot, maybe they're eating a lot, but it's also coming out in forms of aggression. How many times do we have our kids who are snapping at each other or snapping at mom and dad? That's probably a direct result of all this chaos that's going on, and it's a symptom of depression.
So do you find that, because I'm guilty of this as a parent, you know, even sending the message, you're going to get over it, you're going to be fine, we're all suffering, guys. Sometimes I think, you know, even as a parent, maybe that's not the best message to be sending. Maybe that's not the most caring thing to be saying to loved ones or friends or kids.
Well, you know, sometimes that's us talking to ourselves, right? And so we're trying to convince ourselves that things are going to be okay. This is a scary time, and there's a whole lot of uncertainty. So as parents, we're doing the best we can. And sometimes that's just saying, you know, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. I think probably the hardest thing to do as a parent is also, and I think it's important that we do this with our kids, is we need to sit down with them and talk to them about, tell me about how you're feeling. You know, it's about making this normal. And letting them express their feelings and frustrations and anger and all of those things that they're holding inside, because they don't want to be a burden to their friends or to their parents or to their siblings either, right? And so they're trying to be that stoic individual just like we are, right? So we need to talk to our kids because we need this just as much as they need it. So taking that opportunity and sitting down with the kids, whether it's at dinner time or just family time, you know, a lot of us are now getting to that point of we're doing game nights and stuff that we always said, hey, we want to do this. Well, now we have that opportunity, right? So take that time that everybody's sitting around the table and say, you know what, let's talk about how you're feeling. This is kind of a new area for all of us. And as a parent, I want to let you know, hey, I have concerns, I have anxiety about this too, and I have uncertainty, and I can only imagine maybe you do as well. So let's talk about that. So as much normalization as we can make about this so that they can come to us and talk is key to all of this. So that if they're starting to feel really anxious or really depressed, you know, they don't feel like, well, you know, I don't want to bother mom because you know, she's upset too. I'm just gonna keep this inside. And that's probably the most unhealthy thing we can do, is just to keep it inside, to not talk about this to somebody, whether that's mom and dad, a friend, or a professional.
It sounds like if I unpack what you're saying, even to a greater degree, it's we as parents or we as spouses or partners need to be able to create a safe space for those around us to be able to express these things. So I wanted to take it just a little bit further and say, again, talking for a friend, if your kid or someone you love starts sharing their feelings, and sometimes it's easy to shut them down and not maintain the open space that you've created. So could you speak to that a little bit, just in terms of inviting someone to open up? They open up, and making sure you're maintaining that safe space throughout the conversation.
You know, a lot of it is about non-judgmental topics, right, or statements. So you don't want to go, well, you don't dismiss somebody. Don't say, don't worry about that. That's not a big deal. It may not be a big deal to you, but to them, it's a big deal. They're talking about that. And, we all talk about, oh, well, we can talk about our feelings. Well, we can all say that, but it is a different story when we actually start doing that, right? And
Yes.
so, express to, especially if you're talking to one of your kids or your spouse, you create that safe environment and talk about, what I hear you saying is that this is really scary. You're feeling overwhelmed with this. There are times that I feel that as well. And that's scary for me too. So, let's talk about maybe, some of the things that are scaring you, that maybe these things keep piling up, or even what are you doing to maybe help that situation? So, are you journaling? Are you walking? Are you, trying to get some exercise? Are you playing with the family pet? Those are all positive things, and things when people start saying, well, this is what I do, we encourage them and go, that's really a great idea. And how does that work for you? Is that helping? And if they say, yes, it is, that's something that maybe I can try. And again, I keep coming back to this, we normalize things as much as possible, because when we get to that point of being able to share what's inside our heart and our feelings and being that mushy-gushy kind of stuff that sometimes we try and put up that wall and go, no, I'm not talking about that stuff. This is when we need to make it safe, comfortable, and encouraging, and not dismissive. And a lot of times when it becomes uncomfortable for us, we put up that wall and we dismiss. Oh, that's nothing. You'll get over that. It's no big deal. Well, in saying that that's nothing, you have told that person that their feelings are nothing. And that just shuts them down. And they're going to, the next time you go, well, hey, let's talk about what's going on. They're going to go, I'm not talking to you. Why would I do that? You hurt me. You told me that what I was feeling was not important. And so, it's natural that sometimes we get to that place because, again, like I said, it's not natural for us. So we have to be aware of the situation and be encouraging to those individuals if they're sharing something that important as feelings surrounding whether it's this virus or just what's going on in the house, or maybe they're concerned about their job and what's happening at work. Maybe they're going into work and they're an essential worker, right? And they're dealing with the fact that they are potentially seeing people who are infected with this illness, and then they're bringing it back home. Right. And so as an essential worker, it's one of those things of, I don't want to burden my family, so I'm keeping that inside. What a burden to carry that, oh my gosh, I'm really scared that what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to work because I have to do that and I love what I do, but potentially I'm bringing that home. And how do I deal with that and the guilt and the feelings that come around that? Of I'm providing for my family, I'm doing my job, but potentially I'm going to get them sick. And so giving them that free space and that opportunity to go, this is scary and I don't know what to do with this, is that opportunity to say, it's okay. I get where you're coming from and we're going to get through this together. That again is that free space of normalizing things and their feelings and making sure that it's not one of those taboo subjects of, oh, I can't talk about that. No, we need to talk about it. We need to talk about what's going on in our life, how we're feeling. Keeping stuff inside is never a good option.
We hear the phrase a lot, oh, I can't wait for things to get back to normal. And my question about that is, do we really want things to get back to normal? And isn't that question, in a way, shutting down some of what we've been through? And where maybe we can take things possibly in a new direction. Because you mentioned things like families now playing games, families getting more in touch with each other, more communication. What's your take on all of that?
Well, even before all of this craziness with COVID started, I would have individuals come up to me and go, I just want to be normal. And typically my response to that is define normal, right? So our definition of what normal is today is going to be different than what it is 3 months from now, 6 months from now. So yeah, we have to get used to the idea and wrapping this around our head of what is normal. Normal for what our family is, normal for what's going to the grocery store, normal for, who do we invite to our home anymore is going to change. So it's one of those things of again, if we talk about it and normalize things, then that new normal just becomes natural. And understanding that, as much as I would love for things to be back the way they were back in December, I don't think that's going to happen for us for a while. And I'm not sure that even to some extent we want that. I mean, I think to actually think about and verbalize, okay, do I really want to be back in that situation that got us where we are today, right? So taking a look at what are the possibilities. This isn't always, oh my gosh, I have to do this horrible thing. It's no, okay, there's an opportunity that maybe I can, maybe it's something as simple as if I'm going to wear a mask to the grocery store, right? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for people around me? Is that something that is just going to be one of those things that I decide to do versus, okay, I'm being told I have to do that? We're changing our mindset. We're changing how we think about things, not only for ourselves, and I think thankfully maybe this is some growth for all of us. We're thinking globally and community-wise. What is it that I need to do as a member of this community to keep everyone safe, including myself?
So what is your message here in this conversation for many, many that are listening, watching, that are experiencing depression? What can we tell them practically right now? And even a step beyond that, can you go into what are our red flags where, okay, this is really something that you need to act on?
Sure. So my message to everyone right now is you're not alone. Everybody is feeling these feelings, the uncertainty. We're all, the tagline and what everybody is saying is we're in this together. Well, you know what? We really are in this together, and everybody is going through the same thing. So the fact that your teenagers are a little snippier to you or to each other, or you're feeling a little down, and every time you go to the pantry, it's like, oh, here's a new box of cookies, and we're going to go through that today. All those things are what everybody's going through, right? So just know you're not alone in this, and being able to talk to your neighbor on the phone or by Zoom or a family member who you're like, oh, I don't want to burden them. You know what? They're going through the same thing. So it's okay to talk to them. I think when you talk about red flags and when this becomes more serious and bigger than, mom and dad can handle or our spouse can handle, those are things like really seeing the person giving up. Feeling like, no matter what I do, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. This is just horrible and I can't get out of it. And so it's those times of looking at them going, wow, they've kind of given up. And sometimes you can see, and we all talk about in the profession, okay, what are the signals for potential suicide? And those are, that moment of giving up, clarity. Maybe they're giving away possessions. They're completely isolating and not talking to anybody. Those are times in which those are those huge red flags, right? And those are the times that you maybe need to go to them and go, hey, I recognize that, I'm struggling with some of this stuff, and it appears that so are you. And I want you to know I'm here for you to talk to, but there's also an opportunity, talk to some professionals, talk to somebody else. We're all in this business, and we're seeing more and more people coming in with, I just don't have anybody to talk to. I used to be able to go to the office and I could talk to my friends, but now we're all on Zoom, and, I don't really feel comfortable doing this on the computer or on the phone, and I don't have that opportunity to talk to anybody. So there are people still out there. I still see clients in private practice. I've got an office full of individuals who are still seeing people. So recognize the fact that the professionals are still out there. We're willing to help and can get us past this craziness or the new normal that we're all looking at.
Before we wrap this conversation, I would be remiss in not addressing substance use and how that relates to depression, because I know they operate hand in hand. So can you speak to us about that? Because I keep hearing from clinicians, from professionals in substance use, that right now, especially as we try to gather again, as we're coming off of all of this experience with COVID, that it's almost like a tsunami that is receding, and we're about to see the mental health, the substance use issues in ways that we have not before. So can you talk to us about that? I'm really hoping people listening are motivated and encouraged by this conversation to reach out and not stay isolated, not remain depressed.
Sure. So, one of the coping mechanisms for depression and isolation is drinking and doing substances. I noticed the other day that I was driving through a community, and one of the places that the parking lot was the fullest was not the grocery store, but the liquor store. There was a line outside the door. So people are coming to this, okay, I'm stuck at home, I've got nothing to do, I don't have to go to work, so I'll just start drinking. Or I'll start smoking, or I'll start taking pills because I don't want to deal with what's going on because it's scary and I don't know how to cope with all that stuff. So yes, substance abuse and alcoholism is on the rise. We're seeing more and more people coming into treatment because it's getting out of control. And so it's, again, one of those things of understanding that putting a substance in your body is not going to fix what's going on, whether that's the depression or even looking at, gee, I don't know how this world is going to come out of this, and it's really scary, and I don't know that I want to look at this. Sticking our head in the hole or in the bottle is not going to be the solution to that. So we need to tell our family members, tell our friends, fine. If you're grilling outside with your family and you're having a beer, that's one thing. But if you're grilling outside with the family and you started at 9 o'clock in the morning drinking and it's 9 o'clock at night and you've had a beer in your hand the entire time, that's probably something's going on. And we need to talk to our family members and go, hey, let's talk about what's happening with all of this stuff. I'm concerned for you. I'm concerned for our family. And, if it's something that you don't feel comfortable handling individually, then again, there are professionals out there that can help with that, can talk with you and give you some guidance as to maybe how to talk to your family member, or even talk to that family member to say, hey, let's come up with some better coping skills and talk about what's going on versus using medication or liquid courage to kind of get through all of this.
A lot of people locally, and I'm talking Waxahachie, Ennis, all of Ellis County, are realizing that Discovery Point Retreat is right here, right in your very own backyard. So I just want to talk about that, because if you are struggling with depression and you're struggling with substance use, you actually have an ally very close that can help you through all of this. So Greg, can you tell us about Discovery Point Retreat? I want to go ahead and give you the phone number. Our hotline is 855-916-3289. And I'm going to leave the closing words with you, Greg, in terms of just telling people what kind of help is right at the end of that number.
Sure. So fortunately, through Discovery Point, we've been able to continue to maintain services throughout this pandemic. So we follow CDC guidelines as far as keeping our staff as well as our clients safe. We do screening and making sure everybody's okay. But we have a full continuum of services here. We do everything from detox, residential treatment, IOP, PHP. And one of the things that has come from this pandemic is we've actually also started our own telehealth services. So we're able to continue services in an outpatient basis by doing just this, by Zoom and continuing our groups and allowing individuals to social distance and stay at home and stay safe, but are still able to continue with their treatment as though nothing's changed. We're still going and continuing to be able to offer help and support to those individuals.
Well, thank you like a million kabillion for being here on the show. I so appreciate your expertise. I'm going to hand this back over to Heidi. Thank you to our audience. Again, please call 855-916-3289, even if you just have questions or concerns. We are here. Discovery Point Retreat is here to help. Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah, thanks Noelle and Greg for the good work that Discovery Point is doing to help our community stay on top of these things that are vital to our health, to our well-being. We will make it through this time. We will bounce back together, and the Chamber is happy to help bring people together to do that. So blessings to you. Have a great day, you guys. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.